Welcome one and all to the April meeting of the Murder Mystery Book Club. Our title for today, April 1st, is The Mystery of Mrs. Christie by Marie Benedict. This is a quick and friendly spoiler warning that discussion past this point and in the comments of the video post will include spoilers for the novel. If you haven't yet read it, copies are available through the library's Hoopla database. The story begins with the letter being received on a dark and stormy night. The letter is very clear in its tone and the power the writer has over the recipient, stating in part, quote, "How do you want this story to end? It seems to me that there are two paths from which you can choose, the first involving a softer landing than the second, though neither without bumps and bruises of course. My goal, which you will undoubtedly find utterly unacceptable, will be met regardless of your awareness. Freeing myself of the shackles of your judgment and your malfeasance will be a delightful result of your duplicity, a result you never intended. Read on and follow my instructions closely if you wish the safety of the first part and the security of its conclusion. It will not be easy. You will have to be stalwart even when the road is rocky and you suffer from doubts and shame. Only by following my directions at each crossroads in this journey will the story end well for us all." After being introduced to the contents of the letter without the writer or the recipient being disclosed to the reader, the book is split into alternating chapters between the manuscript and the days after the disappearance. Chapter 1 introduces us to the first part of the manuscript with the events dated October of 1912, where a young woman at a party meets a gentleman who insists that she lose her dance card and spend the evening dancing with him. The manuscript continues to unfold in alternating chapters. It shows that the young couple who met in Chapter 1 are Agatha Miller and Archibald Christie. The manuscript is told from Agatha's point of view and shares her innermost thoughts and feelings throughout the events, including her courtship with Archie, her time spent serving as a nurse for wounded soldiers, and her time working in a dispensary where she gained a thorough knowledge of poisons. Though Agatha and Archie marry in December of 1914, their courtship and early stages of their marriage involve long separations, as Archie is deployed to fight the German army during World War I as a pilot in the British Air Force. In 1916, Archie reveals to his wife that he has been grounded due to a severe problem with headaches and will no longer be able to fly missions for the Air Force. Though sad that her husband will no longer be able to pursue his dream of flying, Agatha is happy that he will no longer be at risk of being shot down and killed. She also reveals to her husband that she has written a murder mystery, The Mysterious Affair at Styles, but is unsure if it will be accepted by a publisher or find any popularity with the reading public. As the manuscript continues, it shows the rocky marriage between Agatha and Archie, as after the war, Archie struggles to find work, and the family is often supported by Agatha's writing. When Agatha becomes pregnant with their daughter Rosalind, Archie is at first upset, believing that he will no longer be the center of Agatha's attention. As her mother had warned Agatha to always make her husband the center of her world, she vows that she will not allow her child to displace Archie as the first in her affections and her main priority. The manuscript presents Agatha as a devoted wife who bends over backwards, sacrificing her happiness and her relationship with her daughter in order to ensure that Archie is always her first and last priority. However, despite all of Agatha's efforts, Archie continues to be displeased in his marriage, finding fault in all she says and does. When Agatha's beloved mother dies in April of 1926, while Archie is away in Spain, she reaches out to him desperate for comfort and support during this difficult time. Rather than rushing home to his family, though, Archie merely sends his condolences and remains on his trip. When he does arrive home, he appears appalled by Agatha's intense display of emotion and grief over her mother's passing. It is only a few short months later, in August 1926, that Archie informs his wife, on their daughter's birthday, that he wants a divorce. He's fallen in love with a young woman named Nancy who is quiet, demure, and everything he wants in a woman. Devastated, Agatha begs him to allow her time to attempt to change his mind, and though he agrees, rather than work on their marriage, Archie remains aloof and dedicated to his leaving Agatha for Nancy. The manuscript concludes at the end of the 3 months Archie had agreed to try and save their marriage. On a Friday morning at breakfast, Archie and Agatha have a massive fight when she declares that the only way she will agree to the divorce is if Archie admits to the fact that Nancy Neal is his adulteress and the reason for the dissolution of their marriage. Agatha makes this demand as she knows that without Archie publicly disclosing his infidelity, their daughter Rosalind and the public will always blame her for the divorce and see Archie as the innocent victim. After their fight at breakfast, Agatha sets up one last dinner for the two of them, hoping he'll show, but when he does not, she accepts a phone call, stating that it changes her life forever. Chapter 2 leads us to day 1 after the disappearance, dated December 1926, where a man named Archie is staying with his friends the James and a woman named Nancy, while he laments the fact that his home does not run as smoothly as the James does. A toast to Archie's future plans is offered by his host. From Archie's description of Nancy and her blushes when his future plans are discussed, it appears clear that the two are romantically linked. However, the moment is spoiled when Archie receives a phone call from his home to let him know that his wife has gone missing. As events after the disappearance unfold, it's revealed that Agatha Christie had gone missing on that December evening in 1926. Her car was later found on the banks of a lake with a suitcase, fur coat inside. The police believe the most likely scenarios are that Agatha was hit in the head and wandered away from the accident site suffering from amnesia, or that she met with foul play and was kidnapped. Archie Christie soon becomes the primary suspect in her disappearance in the eyes of the police and the public. It is revealed that the letter was left for Archie by Agatha, and he has been attempting to balance following its instructions to the letter in order to achieve the best outcome he can hope for, while still attempting to maintain his innocence to the police and the press. Though Archie had burned the letter in order to protect himself, before he arrived home it had been seen by their daughter's governess, who informed the police that he had received a communication from his wife shortly before her disappearance. As days continue to pass without any word, the manhunt becomes front-page news, with even Arthur Conan Doyle weighing in by giving one of Agatha Christie's gloves to a psychic in order to try and determine her location. As Archie attempts to balance following the instructions in the letter with maintaining his innocence to the police and press, he becomes more and more distraught, his temper fraying more and more until he eventually lashes out at his own daughter. Horrified at the circumstances he finds himself in, he blames everyone but himself. In the end, Agatha is found alive and well at a spa where she has been staying since the night of her disappearance. She had been checked in under the name of Nancy, her husband's mistress. When the police arrive with Archie, she feigns amnesia until she and Archie are alone, at which point she reveals that she left him not only the letter, but the manuscript she had written as well. She attempts to get Archie to understand how his actions have affected her and forced her into these actions, but he refuses to admit any culpability in the ending of their marriage and in pushing her to these drastic measures. Unable to comprehend her actions, Archie still insists on a divorce, but Agatha reminds him that she does still hold some leverage. Though she admits to being an unreliable narrator in the manuscript, exaggerating a few points, including the severity of their final argument over breakfast that fateful Friday morning, she does state that most of it is true, and a copy will be delivered to the police if he fails to follow her last instructions. In order to remain the innocent victim and not be exposed as the puppet master behind these manipulations, Agatha must be seen as having serious mental trauma, which will require psychiatric help in order to recover fully from. Though Archie will get his divorce, it will come at the price that Agatha demanded before her disappearance, that his infidelity be made public and Nancy Neal named as his mistress. With no other choice to save what is left of his reputation, Archie agrees to continue playing the caring husband, and he and Agatha leave the hotel together a few days later to begin the process of seeking treatment for her lost memories as she recovers from her terrible ordeal. Though not a straightforward murder mystery, I really had a great time with this book, and it touched on a subject that fascinated me for a long time. In 1926, Agatha Christie truly did disappear on a December evening, with only her car being found containing a coat and suitcase. 11 days later, she was found safe and healthy at a spa where she was registered under the name of her husband's mistress. At the time, Agatha claimed that she had no memory of who she was or her past life, and it was believed that she had entered some sort of fugue state. Though her memories did eventually return, Agatha never spoke about what had happened during that time for the rest of her life. Even her autobiography completely skips over that time, refusing to divulge any details. The most commonly held belief is that depression from her failing marriage and loss of her mother caused her to enter some sort of psychological fugue state. However, there are still proponents of the theory that Agatha orchestrated her entire disappearance in an attempt to see her husband Archie blamed, though we'll likely never know what truly happened during those missing 11 days. The mystery endures, the last unsolvable Agatha Christie mystery. I very much like the idea of Agatha orchestrating the events leading up to her disappearance in order to ensure that the truth behind the end of her marriage was revealed. When she and Archie are reunited at the end, she states that he had committed a murder, that he murdered the young girl that she was who had hopes and dreams for the future. In her attempts to be the perfect wife and to always please him, a little bit more of her died every day until there was nothing left. Though it is easy to sympathize with Agatha and demonize Archie, the point is also raised that the narrator is often unreliable. Agatha found the unreliable narrator to be extremely useful in her mystery novels in order to keep the reader from being able to solve the crime, and employs that same tactic in the writing of the manuscript. She even admits to exaggerating parts of the manuscript, including the final fight between herself and Archie, and the strength of her maternal feelings towards Rosalind. At one point, she states that we are all unreliable narrators telling our own stories, seeing ourselves as the victims and unwilling to face our own flaws. As our experiences and unconscious biases affect our perceptions of events around us, it's easy to fall into the trap of becoming an unreliable narrator ourselves, leaving the reader with the question of how much faith can we ever put in one person's account of an incident. Even if they wholeheartedly believe it to be the truth based on their experiences, is it truly objective truth? Is there even such a thing as objective truth at all? Or is reality nothing more than the unreliable perceptions of the billions and billions of people on this planet? However, these are just my thoughts, and I really want to know what you guys think. Did you enjoy the novel? Were you a fan of Agatha Christie before reading this novel? And if so, were you aware of her mysterious disappearance? Or have you been inspired by this novel to pick up an Agatha Christie mystery? Do you believe Agatha was justified in her actions of faking her disappearance and manipulating Archie's actions the entire time? Please leave your thoughts and opinions on this book in the comment section of the video. I can't wait to hear what everyone thought, and I hope you'll all join us in May for our next meeting of the Murder Mystery Book Club, where we read Murder on the Rocks by Allison K. Abbott. Check out the library's YouTube channel and our online newsletter for a quick video preview of our upcoming title. Also, don't forget to stay tuned to the library's website and social media for more information about upcoming programs. We've got some great things planned in the coming month, and I can't wait to see all of you at the next event. Bye!